It wasn't long before everyone had finished, and the group was ready to start out their day of traveling through the forest. James watched as Celine head out ahead of their group to scout out the surroundings, though part of him worried about her. It was no longer a guarantee that Celine would be mentally okay on her own. There was now the chance that whatever was in the forest following them could affect her mind. Thinking about what Celine had said she had seen, he still wasn't sure what she meant about the animals. Was it due to whatever is following us? James wondered. As they began moving out, everyone stayed relatively silent. The silence was like a sign that they were still nervous about what had happened yesterday, unsure whether such an event would repeat. It was even worse since they didn't know what actually happened. None of them wanted to talk about it, not just out of respect for Celine, but also in fear of making their unease grow. Being uneasy in their environment would only lead to people either getting injured or losing their lives. While James was thinking, his eyes were slowly checking their surroundings. It didn't help that there were no animals, indicating the likelihood of monsters in relatively close proximity to them. To reassure himself, James touched the daggers sheathed on his belt. The handles were comforting to him. They were in the same formation they had been in ever since entering the forest. Being in the front allowed him to have a clear view of what was ahead of them. He looked at Kate to the left of him, then to Rahl on the other side of Kate. With her armor and shields, Kate was an imposing sight, providing reassurance that whatever the force threw at them, she'd be able to tank it. Kate may not be as high of a level as Sam, but James still had confidence that she'd have no problems. Glancing at Rahl, James could see that the half-elf was doing the same as James in terms of checking the surroundings. I'm sure he's wondering whether we'll get attacked by monsters, James guessed. On the request, the one thing he learned was that even though Mim's group was at a higher level than they were, the difference in levels didn't mean much since they were all entering a situation foreign and alien to them. It was nice to know that Mim's group was strong and experienced, but the deeper they moved into the forest, James worried about how much benefit the knowledge from previous requests would offer. They may be able to fight off monsters now, but it would get to the point where their levels may not be high enough. I guess it's good that we're getting enough time to eat whenever we set up camp, James thought to himself. If we don't eat, then we won't be able to level faster than if we just soak in the energy around us. The problem was that he didn't know if they would level at a fast enough pace before they encountered monsters above their levels. James wanted to ask Rahl what he thought of the problem, but it didn't feel like the time. There was also not much they could do, aside from spending multiple nights in the same place, but doing that would affect their pace. While they traveled, the clock was slowly ticking away until whatever was causing the unusual behavior of the monsters would impact Forest City. They were literally racing against time. It did make James feel like they needed to move faster, but it would also be dangerous to do such a thing. As they made their way through the forest at a pace slightly faster than a brisk walk, the sun slowly rose, judging by the shortening of the shadows. Even though the canopy blocked the light, the angle of the sunlight still affected the shadows being seen as the light diffused through the leaves. Without the sun letting him know about the passage of time, James would have felt like the day was dragging forever, considering there wasn't anything that could be used to measure their progress. The trees around them looked pretty similar to one another.